Dr. Raven Walsh stared at the quantum fluctuation readings on his monitor, his dark eyes narrowing at the unusual pattern emerging. The basement laboratory at Sterling University hummed with the gentle whir of equipment, but something felt off about tonight's experiments. The quantum signatures were unlike anything he'd recorded before. "Damien, are you seeing this?" he called to his research assistant, who was adjusting controls at the particle accelerator terminal. "Yeah, the numbers are way outside normal parameters," Damien replied, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "Should we shut it down?" Before Raven could respond, a brilliant flash of light erupted in the center of the lab. The air itself seemed to crystallize, forming geometric patterns that shifted and flowed like liquid diamonds. As the light faded, a tall figure stood in its place, distinctly humanoid, but covered in what appeared to be translucent crystalline skin that refracted light in mesmerizing ways. The being's eyes opened, revealing irises that swirled with colors like aurora borealis. Observation log 2749, quantum trajectory calculations appear to have been imprecise. The voice was melodious with an otherworldly resonance. Raven and Damien stood frozen, mouths agape. The security alarm began blaring, its harsh sound causing the crystalline being to wince visibly. "I am Naira, quantum anthropologist from Prisma," the being announced, raising her hands in what appeared to be a peaceful gesture. "Your species' quantum signature drew my attention during my research. I apologize for the unscheduled arrival." Raven found his voice first. "I'm Dr. Raven Walsh, and this is completely impossible." He grabbed his tablet, scanning the being before him. "You're generating quantum fields I've only theorized about." "Fascinating," Naira responded, moving closer to examine his tablet. "Your technology is primitive yet remarkably innovative. Are all humans so quick to measure rather than flee when encountering unknown entities?" "Only the foolishly curious ones," Damien muttered, already backing toward the door. "Damien, wait," Raven called out. "We need to document this. It's the first confirmed extraterrestrial contact in human history." Naira tilted her head, her crystalline features catching the laboratory lights. "Not exactly. I've observed 17 of your research facilities already. However, this is my first materialization." She paused, examining her own form with apparent surprise. The quantum coupling was unexpected. Security guards burst through the door, weapons drawn. Everyone freeze. "Technically, my molecular structure is already in a semi-crystalline state," Naira commented, seemingly unperturbed by the weapons. "Though I suspect that's not what you meant." Raven stepped between the guards and Naira. "Wait, she's a peaceful visitor, a scientist like us." He turned to Naira. "Perhaps we should explain this situation carefully." Hours later, after countless calls to university administrators, government officials, and scientific authorities, Raven found himself sitting across from Naira in a hastily assembled conference room. Two agents from a previously unknown government division called the Extraterrestrial Scientific Exchange Program, ESEP, flanked the doors. "Your quantum manipulation technology is fascinating," Naira said, examining a cup of coffee with intense interest. "The molecular vibrations create such unusual sensations." She took a sip and immediately illuminated brighter, her crystalline skin pulsing with patterns of light. "That's caffeine for you," Raven chuckled. "But I'm more interested in how you achieved quantum transportation across light years." "We Prismans exist in a state of quantum superposition naturally," Naira explained, still distracted by the coffee. "Our consciousness can entangle with distant quantum signatures. Usually we remain observers only, but something about your experiment created a stronger coupling than anticipated." "So you're stuck here?" Raven asked, his scientific curiosity warring with concern. "Temporarily, the quantum alignment will allow return transport in approximately 1 Earth month." Naira set down the coffee cup. "Until then, I propose a cultural exchange. You can study my quantum properties, and I can study your species' fascinating emotional responses." Agent Peters, the senior ESEP representative, cleared his throat. "That would require significant security protocols." "Which we can discuss in detail," Raven interrupted, earning a sharp look from the agent. "This is an unprecedented opportunity for both our species." Naira's colors shifted to warmer hues. "You exhibit unusual courage, Dr. Walsh. Most beings show greater fear when encountering unknown life forms." "Call me Raven," he replied. "And it's not courage, it's scientific obsession. Your presence could revolutionize our understanding of quantum mechanics." And your responses could revolutionize our understanding of emotional quantum entanglement, Naira countered. My preliminary observations suggest humans experience a form of natural quantum coupling through what you call feelings, highly unusual for non-crystalline beings. As they discussed research parameters, Raven couldn't help but notice how Naira's crystalline features shifted and changed with each new idea or observation. It was like watching thoughts take physical form, beautiful and alien at once. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Raven's lab was designated a secure research facility, with Damien and a select team of scientists cleared for the project. Naira proved to be an endless source of fascinating data, her very existence challenging their understanding of physics. Your atomic structure shouldn't be possible, Raven muttered one evening, reviewing scanner results. You're simultaneously crystalline and organic, fixed and flowing. Much like your emotions, Naira observed, watching him with those aurora-like eyes. You maintain solid form yet experience fluid states of consciousness. Your species is a beautiful contradiction. Raven looked up, struck by the genuine wonder in her voice. You find us beautiful. Intensely so, Naira replied. Each human I observe experiences reality differently, processes emotions uniquely. On Prisma, we share a collective quantum consciousness. Individual variations are minimal. That sounds lonely, Raven said without thinking. Naira's colors shifted to deeper blues. Lonely? Yes, I believe I'm beginning to understand that concept now. She moved closer, her presence causing the quantum sensors to spike. Tell me, Raven, why does your heart rate increase when I approach? Is it fear? No, he answered honestly. It's excitement, scientific curiosity. Are you certain? Naira's form shimmed slightly. My readings suggest something more complex, something emotional. Before Raven could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as Agent Peters burst into the lab. We've got a problem, he announced grimly. Our satellites just detected multiple quantum anomalies forming in the upper atmosphere. Seems your arrival wasn't as isolated as we thought, Dr. Naira. Naira's crystalline form pulsed with urgent patterns. Impossible, I was conducting independent research. Unless, she turned to Raven, her colors darkening. Unless my quantum coupling with your experiment created a beacon for others to follow. Raven looked at his monitors, watching as more quantum signatures appeared. How many others? The entire Prisman Scientific Council, Naira whispered. They're coming to observe humanity up close. The Sterling University cafeteria buzzed with whispers as Naira sat across from Raven, her crystalline form drawing stares from students and faculty alike. 2 weeks had passed since the detection of the approaching Prisman Council, but their arrival seemed delayed. Something Naira claimed was quantum uncertainty in action. These flavor combinations are extraordinary, Naira commented, sampling a slice of pepperoni pizza. Her crystalline surface rippled with waves of orange and gold. We have nothing like this on Prisma. Our sustenance is purely energetic. You're telling me your entire species lives on pure energy? Raven asked, taking notes on his tablet. No wonder your quantum signatures are so unique. Damien joined them, setting down his tray with a careful distance from Naira. Despite working together for weeks, he still seemed unnerved by her presence. The latest atmospheric readings show the Council's signatures dispersing. Any idea what that means? Naira's colors shifted to a contemplative blue. They're observing, as we always have, but my physical manifestation here has created controversy. She turned to Raven. My research methods are considered unorthodox by Prisman standards. Because you actually interact with your subjects? Raven asked. Because I feel, Naira's voice carried a new resonance. These past weeks studying humans, experiencing emotions firsthand, it's changing me. The Council fears such changes could destabilize our collective consciousness. A group of physics students walked past, pointing and whispering. One bold graduate student approached their table. Dr. Walsh, I was wondering if you could explain how the quantum entanglement principles in your latest paper relate to, she gestured vaguely at Naira. To my existence, Naira finished, her tone gentle. Please join us, I find human curiosity refreshing. Her colors brightened as the student sat down. The next hour turned into an impromptu lecture as more students gathered around. Naira explained Prisman quantum physics while Raven translated into terms they could understand. The students' initial nervousness gave way to genuine fascination. You see, Naira demonstrated by allowing her hand to phase slightly out of normal spacetime, consciousness itself is a quantum phenomenon. Humans simply haven't learned to control it yet. That's incredible, the graduate student breathed. But doesn't it get lonely being so different from everyone around you? Naira's colors dimmed slightly. Loneliness? Yes, I'm beginning to understand that emotion quite well now. Her gaze met Raven's, though some connections bridge even quantum barriers. Later that evening, in the privacy of the lab, Raven found Naira examining her own readings on the quantum scanner. Her usual iridescent glow seemed muted. "Everything okay?" he asked, pulling up a chair beside her. "My quantum signature is changing," she replied softly. "The more I experience human emotions, the more my crystalline structure adapts. The Council will consider it contamination." "I consider it evolution," Raven countered. "You're not just observing humanity anymore, you're growing, changing, feeling. That's beautiful." Naira turned to him, her aurora eyes swirling with new colors. "Is that what you feel when you look at me, beauty?" Raven felt his heart rate spike, knowing she could probably detect it. "I feel wonder, fascination, and yes, beauty, but also connection," Naira finished. "A quantum entanglement of consciousness that defies my people's understanding." She reached out, her crystalline fingers nearly touching his hand. "Show me more human experiences, Raven. Help me understand why these feelings matter so much to your species." That night, Raven took Naira to a small jazz club near campus. The music filled the dim room as they found a quiet corner table. Naira's form pulsed in rhythm with the saxophone's soulful notes. "The vibrations," she whispered, "they create patterns in the quantum field like emotions made visible." Her surface rippled with harmonious colors. "That's what music does," Raven explained. "It bypasses our logical minds and speaks directly to our feelings." "We have nothing like this on Prisma," Naira said. "Our collective consciousness prioritizes order, stability. This is beautiful chaos." As they listened, Raven noticed Naira's crystalline structure becoming slightly more fluid, more organic. The changes worried him. "Will these adaptations harm you?" "They already have in the Council's view." Naira's colors darkened. "I received a quantum communication today. They demand I return to pure observation status. My physical presence here is deemed too risky. And if you refuse, they will forcibly dissolve my quantum cohesion." Her voice carried new emotions, fear, defiance, determination. "But I can't go back to being a passive observer, Raven, not after experiencing this." She gestured to encompass everything, the music, the people, him. A commotion at the club's entrance interrupted them. Agent Peters rushed in, his face grave. "Dr. Walsh, we need you both back at the lab immediately. The Council's quantum signatures are converging again, but this time they're focusing directly on Sterling University." Naira stood, her form emanating urgent patterns. "They're not coming to observe anymore. They're coming to correct what they see as a dangerous anomaly, me." "We won't let them take you," Raven said firmly, surprising himself with the intensity of his conviction. "You don't understand," Naira's voice carried new harmonics of fear. "They won't just take me, they'll erase every trace of my influence here, including any human memories of my existence." As they rushed back to the lab, Raven's mind raced. He couldn't lose her, not just for the science, but for all the ways she'd changed how he saw the universe, how he felt about connection and consciousness. Damien met them at the lab entrance, his usual caution forgotten in the crisis. "The quantum fluctuations are off the charts. Whatever's coming, it's big. We need to prove that cross-species emotional quantum entanglement is valuable," Naira said, moving to the central quantum scanner. "If we can demonstrate that human consciousness holds properties unknown to Prisman science, then we make ourselves too interesting to erase," Raven finished, already powering up equipment. "Damien, call in the team, we've got work to do." As emergency lights flashed and alarms sounded across campus, Raven watched Naira's crystalline form pulse with determination. She had risked everything to understand human emotions. Now it was humanity's turn to fight for understanding, and maybe something more precious than scientific knowledge alone. Sterling University's quantum physics lab had become a fortress of scientific defiance. Raven, Naira, and their team worked tirelessly through the night, monitoring the approaching Prisman Council's quantum signatures while gathering data on human-Prisman interactions. "Their convergence pattern is accelerating," Damien announced, his eyes fixed on the atmospheric sensors. The usual tremor in his voice when addressing Naira had been replaced by focused determination. We've got maybe 48 hours before they fully materialize. Naira stood at the central quantum interface, her crystalline form now showing distinct organic patterns that pulsed in sync with her emotions. The Council's approach is causing quantum disruptions across the campus. Look, she gestured to the readings. Human brainwave patterns are being affected. Raven rushed to examine the data. These neural oscillations, they're starting to synchronize with Prisman quantum frequencies. He turned to Naira, concern etching his features. Is this what they meant by erasing memories? It's the beginning, Naira confirmed, her colors darkening to deep indigo. They're preparing humanity's collective consciousness for a quantum reset. Everything related to my presence here will be rewritten. Agent Peters burst into the lab, followed by a team of ESCP scientists. We're picking up similar patterns worldwide. Whatever your people are planning, Dr. Naira, it's affecting the entire planet's quantum field. We can't let them do this, Raven declared, running calculations on his tablet. There must be a way to shield human consciousness from quantum manipulation. Naira's form shimmed with sudden inspiration. Perhaps we're approaching this wrong. Instead of resisting the quantum synchronization, she placed her crystalline hand over Raven's chest, right above his heart. We could use it to prove why human emotions are valuable to Prisman science. The touch sent cascades of iridescent light through both their forms. The quantum sensors exploded with readings. Incredible, one of the ESCP scientists breathed, staring at the data. The quantum entanglement between them is creating new patterns we've never seen before. Damien jumped up from his station. Look at this, the resonance is spreading through the university's quantum field. It's beautiful. Raven could feel it, a sensation beyond physical touch, beyond normal human perception. Through their connection, he experienced glimpses of Naira's consciousness, the vast, crystalline networks of Prisman thought, the cold clarity of pure observation, and the warming wonder of discovering human emotions. This is what we show them, Naira whispered, her voice carrying harmonics of hope and fear. Human emotions don't destabilize quantum consciousness, they enrich it, create new possibilities. The lab doors burst open again as Professor Lindstrom, head of the physics department, entered with several university officials. Dr. Walsh, the board is demanding answers. Students are reporting strange experiences, shared dreams, impossible knowledge of quantum mechanics. The quantum field blade, Naira explained, reluctantly breaking contact with Raven. As the council approaches, the barriers between Prisman and human consciousness grow thinner. Your species is beginning to access quantum awareness, which could either prove our point or terrify them into immediate action, Raven added, already formulating plans. Professor, we need to organize a controlled demonstration, something to show both humanity and the Prisman Council that this convergence is beneficial. Hours later, the university's main auditorium was filled with students, faculty, and government officials. Naira stood on stage beside Raven, her crystalline form radiating gentle pulses of light that seemed to resonate with the audience's collective attention. What you're experiencing, Raven addressed the crowd, is the beginning of a new understanding of consciousness itself. The quantum field that connects all matter also connects all minds. We simply never had the ability to perceive it before. Naira stepped forward, her voice carrying harmonic overtones that touched something deep in each listener's awareness. My people believe that emotion destabilizes quantum consciousness. But here, among humans, I've discovered that feelings create new quantum patterns, new possibilities for connection and growth. As if in response to her words, the air in the auditorium began to crystallize. Geometric patterns of light formed and shifted, creating a visible manifestation of the quantum field itself. The audience gasped collectively as they felt their consciousness expand, touching the edges of Prisman perception. They're coming, Naira announced, her colors flaring with urgency. The council has detected our demonstration there. A blast of quantum energy shook the building. Reality itself seemed to ripple as 5 crystalline forms materialized on stage. Unlike Naira's increasingly organic appearance, these beings were sharp, geometric, their surfaces refracting light in cold, precise patterns. Observer Naira, the central figure spoke, its voice creating discordant harmonies in the quantum field. You have violated all protocols of scientific observation. Your contamination of this species' development cannot be permitted to continue. Honored Council, Naira stood her ground, unconsciously moving closer to Raven. I have not contaminated humanity. I have discovered a new form of quantum consciousness, one that could revolutionize our understanding. Your own form betrays the extent of your corruption, another council member declared. You have allowed emotional quantum entanglement to alter your very structure. Raven stepped forward despite the crackling energy emanating from the council members. If you'd simply observe our data. Silence, the first council member commanded. Human consciousness is too unstable, too emotional for direct quantum interaction. We will reset this timeline and return to proper observational protocols. The air began to crystallize more rapidly as the council members raised their arms in unison. Students in the audience cried out as their memories began to blur, reality itself seeming to shift around them. No, Naira's voice carried new power, harmonizing with something deep in the human quantum field. You will observe this. She reached for Raven's hand, and as their fingers touched, a shock wave of quantum energy exploded outward. The council members staggered as wave after wave of human emotion crashed through the quantum field. Love, fear, joy, wonder, anger, hope, each feeling created its own unique pattern in the crystalline air, weaving together into something entirely new. Through their connection, Raven and Naira were broadcasting the full spectrum of human prisman consciousness. What is this? The council leader demanded, its geometric form wavering. This, Naira declared, her voice carrying echoes of both species, is evolution. The quantum storm raging through Sterling University's auditorium intensified as Raven and Naira's combined consciousness radiated outward. Students and faculty members found themselves experiencing impossible sensations, glimpses of crystalline thought patterns, echoes of ancient prisman knowledge, all interwoven with purely human emotions. This contamination must end, the council leader declared, its geometric form pulsing with cold light. The quantum field is destabilizing. Damien burst through the auditorium doors, clutching his tablet. Dr. Walsh, the quantum resonance is spreading globally. People everywhere are reporting awareness. The council members vibrated with alarm, their crystalline forms shifting in agitation. The infection spreads too rapidly. We must initiate complete consciousness reset. Wait, Professor Lindstrom stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with newfound quantum perception. Can't you feel it? The field isn't destabilizing, it's evolving. Our minds are reaching for something new. Agent Peters and his ESCP team had their instruments trained on the phenomenon. She's right, these patterns, they're not chaotic. They're forming new stable configurations we've never seen before. Naira's grip on Raven's hand tightened as their shared consciousness expanded. Through their connection, they could sense the quantum field reshaping itself, human emotion and prisman logic weaving together into something greater than either. Show them, Raven whispered to Naira, show them everything. Naira's form flared with brilliant light as she opened her full awareness to the council. Through their quantum link, they experienced every moment of her time on Earth, the first taste of coffee, the wonder of music, the gradual awakening to feelings, and most importantly, the growing connection with Raven that had changed her forever. This is not corruption, Naira's voice resonated through multiple dimensions of reality. This is transcendence. The youngest council member's geometric surface began to ripple, showing hints of organic patterns. The quantum harmonics, they're beautiful. No, the council leader's form crackled with harsh energy. We cannot allow emotional quantum entanglement to spread. The collective consciousness must remain pure. It raised its crystalline arms, gathering power to forcibly reset the timeline. But in that crucial moment, something unexpected happened. The quantum field itself seemed to resist, humanity's awakening consciousness joining with Naira's transformed awareness to create a protective resonance. Don't you see? Raven addressed the council, his voice carrying new harmonics of understanding. Your fear of emotion, of change, it's limiting your own evolution. Look around you, feel the potential. Throughout the auditorium, humans were beginning to glow with their own quantum light. Not the pure crystalline radiance of prismans, but something unique, organic patterns that pulsed with feeling yet held their own kind of stability. Professor Lindstrom approached the council, her consciousness visibly reaching out to touch the quantum field. We're scientists too. Let us show you what we've learned about the role of emotion in quantum consciousness. The council members wavered, their rigid geometric forms softening slightly as waves of human feeling washed through them. Through it all, Raven and Naira's connection anchored the transformation, their combined consciousness demonstrating the perfect harmony of logic and emotion. The patterns, the youngest council member whispered. They're self-sustaining. Emotion isn't destabilizing the quantum field, it's creating new forms of order. Agent Peters stepped forward, his usual stoic demeanor transformed by wonder. Our readings confirm it. The quantum resonance has reached a stable state worldwide. Humanity is awakening to a new level of consciousness, but it's not destroying who we are, it's enhancing our understanding. The council leaders' form flickered uncertainly, but the protocols, the collective, can evolve, Naira finished. As I have evolved, not through contamination but through connection. Her crystalline surface now flowed with organic patterns that matched her emotions yet maintained their fundamental structure. We don't have to choose between stability and feeling, we can transcend that division. Raven felt a surge of quantum energy through their linked hands as Naira channeled her consciousness into a final demonstration. The air around them crystallized into a stunning display of mathematical precision and emotional resonance, proof that the two could coexist, strengthen each other, create something new. The council members' forms began to shift, geometric certainty blending with organic possibility. The quantum field hummed with new harmonies as two forms of consciousness learned to coexist. But just as hope began to rise, alarms blared throughout the building. Damien's voice cut through the quantum harmonics. The field is reaching critical mass. Something's happening to the fabric of reality itself. Reality rippled like waves on a crystalline sea as the quantum field reached unprecedented levels of resonance. In Sterling University's auditorium, humans and prismans alike watched in awe as the very fabric of spacetime began to transform. The convergence is accelerating, Damien called out, his instruments struggling to measure the phenomenon. Both human and prisman consciousness are reaching some kind of harmonic frequency. Raven felt it through his connection with Naira, a sensation of boundaries dissolving, not into chaos, but into a higher form of order. Their joined consciousness expanded to encompass the entire auditorium, touching every mind present with a glimpse of what was becoming possible. This is more than evolution, Naira whispered, her voice carrying harmonics of wonder. We're creating a bridge between species, between ways of being. The council members' geometric forms had transformed, now showing a perfect blend of crystalline precision and organic flow. The youngest member stepped forward, its voice resonating with new understanding. We were wrong to fear emotion, it declared. This harmony, it's what our science has always sought but never achieved through pure observation. Professor Lindstrom's quantum-enhanced consciousness reached out to touch the transformed field. The mathematics are perfect, emotion creates its own kind of order, its own symmetry. We just couldn't see it before. Through their shared awareness, Raven and Naira began to understand what was happening. The quantum field wasn't just allowing communication between species, it was creating a new state of existence where both could thrive together. Look, Agent Peters pointed to his readings. The field is stabilizing, but at a higher level of complexity. It's like we've discovered a quantum ecosystem where both forms of consciousness can coexist. The council leaders' form pulsed with acceptance as centuries of rigid certainty gave way to new possibility. Perhaps this is why observation alone was never enough. To truly understand consciousness, we had to experience it in all its forms. Students and faculty members throughout the auditorium began to glow with their own unique quantum signatures, not becoming prisman, but awakening to their own innate connection to the quantum field. Each human consciousness retained its individuality while gaining access to a deeper level of universal awareness. Naira's form had completed its transformation, neither purely crystalline nor purely organic, but a perfect synthesis of both. This is what I discovered here on Earth, not just emotion, but the power of connection itself. The quantum field has always been a bridge between all forms of consciousness. We just had to be brave enough to cross it. Brave enough to feel, Raven added, understanding flowing through their linked consciousness, and wise enough to see the patterns in our feelings. The quantum storm began to settle into a new equilibrium. Throughout the auditorium, humans and prismans found themselves able to communicate directly through the field, sharing thoughts and emotions in a harmony that respected both species' unique qualities. The question was never about choosing between logic and emotion, Professor Lindstrom observed, her consciousness radiating peaceful understanding. It was about transcending that false division. Damien's instruments registered the final stabilization of the quantum field. It's done. The resonance patterns are self-sustaining. Whatever we've become, it's permanent. The council members gathered around Naira and Raven, their forms now as fluid and expressive as their younger colleagues. You have shown us a path we never imagined, the leader acknowledged. Both our species will need guidance in this new state of existence. Then let us be bridges, Naira suggested, her consciousness harmonizing perfectly with Raven's. Teachers of this new way of being. Raven smiled, feeling the truth of it through their connection. After all, that's how this began, with curiosity, with the desire to understand each other. Now we can help others do the same. As the quantum field settled into its new patterns, the auditorium filled with a sense of possibility. Humans and Prismans began to mingle, each interaction creating new harmonies in the field. Students excitedly explored their expanded consciousness, while council members experienced the joy of unfettered emotion. Professor Lindstrom approached Raven and Naira, her eyes shining with both scientific excitement and human warmth. So, what's next for our quantum pioneers? Naira's form shimmered with happiness as she turned to Raven. There are still so many things to discover, so many new harmonies to explore. Together, Raven agreed, their connected consciousness radiating with shared purpose. The quantum bridge they had built would change both species forever, opening new frontiers of science and consciousness. But more importantly, it had proven that love, in all its complex emotional, logical glory, was the most powerful force in any universe. As human and Prisman consciousness danced together in the quantum field, creating endless new patterns of possibility, Raven and Naira stood at the center of it all. Their connection had started with a simple question about understanding each other, and had grown into something that transformed two worlds. The quantum bridge of hearts they had built would stand as a testament to the power of connection, proving that sometimes the greatest scientific discoveries come not from pure observation, but from the courage to feel, to change, and to love across all boundaries of space and consciousness. The end.